we were writing all this stuff out, we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know how we wanted damage to be applied, or if there would be these kind of, point values of someone gets, like when you get infected, what's the tick rate for that? Didn't know. So I'm gonna side with Eshkatite and say we probably could get away with a pretty simple, making everything an int. And unfortunately, we're getting to the end of our time, but I do like that refactoring point. So let's take a quick look at how that would play out. We'd go into our base game object first, and we'd want to change all of our doubles, which is just the 2. Refactor. Oops, no. We'll just make this an int. And it is Refactor Saturday after all. Okay. And it's a great point because when we're refactoring, we've got this nice base, we've got this all this architecture, we should be able to make our change to the lowest level possible, hit build, and then just see where things get crazy. And now we're going to go into all of our other base classes. So instead of base actor, we're just going to make everything an int. Because for our needs, it does make things a little nicer. Eshkatite says, how did you do that? Change all data types at once. Okay, so the other part of our why katas, our code katas, and our practice is so important is because we really want to challenge how effectively we're doing things. So in this case, if I hold down the Alt key and with my mouse I left click and drag, I can do this multi-line edit. And then when I start typing, it'll change everything at once. So you can see it's not super smart, but it can be very, very nice. And honestly, shame on me because I forget the purely keyboard shortcut for it. I think it's like Control Shift and then down, but don't quote me on that. All right, so base actor looks good. Let's see what else we broke. Let's go into our base inventory. Oh, it's going to be ugly. So if I try to do this here, it's going to put int all the way down, which is not my friend. So it's got its shortcomings. You'll see people who are very keyboard savvy quickly collapse all these down to one line and then do the multi-edit and then reapply formatting. I'm not that good, admittedly. Okay, let's go back to the NPC. you're bearing with me through the less fun refactoring points. Good on you. It's one of the parts about watching people code that I actually really enjoyed. So many of the tutorials and stuff out there are so polished and almost to a fault, right? Because they never show you what real coding actually entails. Um, I'd also ask another VS question, Visual Studio. If you want to change the name of a variable, is it possible to change the name of every occurrence of the variable at the same time? It is, and I rely on Resharper for that, which will do a very intelligent search through. So if I was here, and I highlighted fight, and I went to Refactor. So I've got Refactor, which allows me to rename and do a save, delete, or remove. So when I refactor, I'd be able to change the name everywhere. Resharper takes that to a level of really deep searching and making sure things are done correctly. So, as I said before, I should be getting paid by Resharper for how often I recommend their product. It really is kind of, if you go anywhere and that shop uses no other plugin, I bet you they're using Resharper. Okay, I'm missing something. What am I missing? Base game object is what's making my life so difficult. And I think at this point I would be safe to go through and replace all doubles globally with hints. But if you're new to this this stream, or you haven't seen very much, it's good to kind of see what all we've done. So now instead of my strategy, and the strategy was what we did for the strategy pattern, we had all these classes we wanted, like carpenter, mechanic. Exploit says it doesn't have a refactor option. It must be Resharper only. And I do apologize for that. I've made that kind of concession quite often, where I try to only use things that are free to Visual Studio Community and all that, so you can really code along. Resharper is going to be the one exception to that, but I do try to I do try to use it sparingly. Okay. Alright, so there's a bit to refactor. That's not always fun, but I will tell you something that I learned early on was don't let this scare you, right? Don't let having to make 50 changes prevent you from doing the right thing. Just develop a system for yourself. Go to your happy place, right? Enjoy the fact that you're getting all this muscle memory. And honestly, just let it inspire you. If it becomes very painful, say, okay, well then I need to figure out the shortcut or the way to make this easier or make the teachable moment. But don't let the hesitance of making a change prevent you from writing better code. All right, getting there. Man, monsters and NPCs. Let's do this. There we go. Oh man, we're getting there. 10 more. All right, so Dags213 says people always tend to just copy and paste code from the net and not understand what the code does and stuff. Totally agree. And there's a great article that let's see if we can find it real fast because it is Refactor Saturday. Let's see, coding superstition. Here we go. So you'll see if you there's a better blog article out there, but essentially, if I find it, I'll try to tweet it. But really, just saying that superstition creeps in to code when people do what Dax was saying. It's just running out into the web and copying and pasting code and understanding what it's doing. It makes such a brittle system because you get to a point where people are afraid to touch anything and things work and they don't know why, and you go to try to refactor and you can't because you're like, well, I don't even know what this does, so I don't want to change it. So yeah, there's this idea of as a system becomes more complex, changes to the system become exponentially more expensive. It's an adage in software design and development. And so every time you add a line of code, you're increasing technical debt, meaning that you're increasing the amount that has to be deciphered, understood, before the next change can be made. So one of the ideas behind design patterns is we're trying to flatten that technical debt. We're trying to say with a solid architecture, with a solid base for extensibility, changes within that architecture, within the confines of that architecture, will always have the same cost, right? So that's hopefully what you get from a lot of this implementation is saying, okay, yes, this change requires 2 hours, for example. No matter how complex the application is going to become, it's always only going to take 2 hours. And the results are testable and they're predictable. So, we hope that's what we're doing. All right, let's see what is crying.